Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me is your city administrator, Chad Brecklin. Chad, how are you doing, sir?
I am good, Jeremy. How are you doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful. We got a lot to get to today. Not a lot of topics, but a lot of stuff to talk about within. Some things you're like, we've talked about this, but there's updates. Other things, we got some new stuff coming out here. We'll start in road construction, everybody's favorite. We've got updates both on Cyene Road in Lacey, and then down on Lacey and Seminole. So we're up, down, depending which way you're going. Over,
west of, east of.
So yeah, we'll just work through that one. Let's start with the Cyene Road project because that one finally, we talked about the last time. In fact, we had just got the notice the last time we got together that things were starting to move because we got through some utility stuff. All that set aside, where are we going?
Well, there has been some movement, which I'm happy to report. I know folks have been looking at that and maybe not noticing a lot of movement, but there is at least movement. There has been curb and gutter has been poured recently and will continue to be poured over the next week or so. And we are optimistically proceeding with paving in a couple of weeks, assuming the weather cooperates and a few other things align. And that will allow us to wrap up that intersection work at Lacey and Cyene, and then allow us to transition to East Sherrill and Cyene, which the work at East Sherrill and Cyene is anticipated to continue into October there. So,
I hate to put you on the spot here, but I didn't see it from the updates, and I don't recall hearing it. But are we going to see closures at Lacey and Sherrill? That was one that I was trying to learn a little bit more about. I know we're going to see the stoplight work and stuff going on there, but I did not see any full closure there. But you still should be careful entering that.
Right, absolutely. So this could have changed, but I know one of the, at least the early plans for that intersection was that the work would be performed under traffic or with traffic open. So largely from what I believe at East Sherrill and Cyene, it will be the installation of traffic signals going in, and then that can be done with traffic still moving. Might be some, periodic closures or delays and those sorts of things. And as you mentioned, we want motorists to be aware of that and, take their time, be respectful of those working in that area. And of course, if there has been a change in original plan from doing it under traffic to doing a closure, I'm sure our engineering team will work to get that notification out to our community.
Yeah, it's looking good. I'd say you've seen a lot of movement down there, so it's coming together. And if you go to the other side of Lacey Road, west, east, which way you want to take it, and Seminole Highway, we've been talking about that roundabout there has to be open basically before school starts. So here we are, about a month out-ish.
We're knocking on the door, probably closer to about 3 weeks before school starts or so. Usually September 1st, I think, is when Verona School District starts, and our goal all along has been to get at least the roundabout constructed and open between the end of school last year and the beginning of school here on September 1st. I was just over there actually yesterday taking a look at it, and there is quite a bit of concrete that has been poured in the roundabout section or intersection, and it's evident where the roundabout is. So I think there's clear progress being made. There's still quite a bit of work to do, and again, I'm much like the Cyene Road project. Hopefully the weather continues to be cooperative from a road construction perspective, and I think we're cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to get that done in time for school opening. And our engineering team, as well as city administration, has been in contact with the Verona School District as well to keep them informed of where that project is at. I know that there has been some talk that if we had to do a contingency plan, just to give folks, that sort of thinking in advance, instead of, hey, it's August 30th, and by the way, we're not going to meet September 1st, right? So there's been good dialogue and communication there, so everybody should be on the same page.
That's good to know. And then the work does continue, so it will still be a construction zone, regardless of it being semi-open, I suppose. You'll be able to go around, but not out to continue on Lacey Road up to Fitch-Rona Road. That's a massive every time I pass around to go and look at it, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, that's a full-fledged reconstruction of a rural road to an urban roadway. And that is going to take time, as has always been the plan. That road is, that section from Lacey and Seminole back to Lacey and Fitch-Rona is scheduled to be completed right around November 1st or so. So that's been the plan all along, and hopefully, we continue to stay on track for that one. And again, we appreciate everyone's patience with both of the construction sites. These are never easy, particularly if you live in a neighborhood where you don't typically get a lot of traffic, and now you might be getting much more traffic than you're used to. So we do definitely recognize that that's an inconvenience and a change, and we appreciate everyone's understanding for what will be a much more efficient, much more safe road to use in the future.
Yeah, very excited to see when that wraps up. So we'll get out there and get some video of this too as it comes together. But appreciate the updates on that. Let's switch over to budget. Maybe there's only 2 times a year. What do they say usually? Winter and road construction. Yeah. But for you, it's winter and budget, right?
Or budget and budget.
Yeah, budget.
Between capital budget and operating budget.
Well, I was going to leave that one alone, but maybe there's that. So we talked about kind of last time, where the introduction piece. So department heads have just turned in their budgets and whatnot, what will we be seeing here in the next couple of months?
Yeah, so what you'll be seeing is one thing that we did differently this year is we also asked department heads to submit staffing proposals over the next 5 years. We typically look at that on a year-by-year basis, and oftentimes the vast majority of those requests are not able to be fulfilled from a budgetary standpoint, and then perhaps they'll come back the next year. But our intent here is to take a look at a 5-year look and really take and prioritize those asks over the next 5 years. Clearly, we will be unlikely to be able to fund all of those requests, but at least to put together some guidelines with another document we can talk about here in a little bit. But ultimately, yes, departments have submitted all of their requests for not necessarily just staffing proposals, but their overall operating budget for next year. And operating budget includes things like salary and benefits, operating supplies, gas, equipment, those sorts of things. Basically anything you need to make the day-to-day operations of the city function, that's what's in our operating budget. And we'll begin meeting next week with department heads. Our finance director, Misty Dodge, and I will meet with them early in the week, and then we'll follow up on day 2 and include Mayor Arata Frada in those meetings. So that's really the first draft of the budget. It's really a rough draft at that point in time. We pretty much, it's all kind of gets put out on the table, so to speak, and then we have to start working with the mayor and her priorities to kind of whittle through all of that information on the table to come up with ultimately the mayor's proposed budget that will come out, I believe, is it the first week of October-ish?
Pretty close to that, if not even,
It's somewhere right around October 1st. Don't have that date committed to memory yet, so.
That's all right.
Seems like a long time away.
Well, I know.
Even though I know it's not.
And I think it's weird to be talking about budget in the middle of the summer.
Right.
Again, we've already done our capital improvement for next year, which is 10-year lookout. This one's for next year. And you still roll that into it as well. So ultimately, that process finishes out in November for final adoption. But you'll see all that play out here on Fact TV when we present to finance and then amendments and more amendments.
And as always, there'll be several opportunities for public input to either come in person or via Zoom to provide testimony, or they're always willing to reach out to their elected officials that represent their area to share their thoughts as well.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that in a future segment.
Seems like it. We'll see. Keep you posted. Staffing study is the other piece you were kind of mentioning too. So there was a staffing study done. A presentation was just done sharing about what had happened with this. So tell people who may have missed it or why we had this study done.
Yeah, so much along the lines of asking department heads to submit their staffing proposals over the next 5 years, we also wanted to get an outside perspective from a consulting firm to come in and just take a fresh look at what does our staffing look like now, what could it look like over the next 3 to 5 years, with the eye of taking a look at where some inefficiencies could be, maybe where we don't have dedicated capacity to a certain function, and those sorts of things. So we put out a request for proposal towards the end of last year, 2022. Ultimately, Baker Tilly was selected to move forward with that assessment, and we spent the first 6 months of this year working with Baker Tilly Their team came in, met with all the department heads, did either one-on-one or small group or other sorts of conversations and meetings with all staff throughout the entire city. And they also spent some time meeting with elected officials as well to try to get a picture of what are the services that we provide, what might be services we're looking to provide on the horizon, where are some of our strengths, where are some of the areas of improvement, where might some inefficiencies lie, and what might be some ways to improve those inefficiencies and make them more efficient. So Baker Tilly has authored their report. They spoke at the Personnel Committee on August 9th to present that report to them. And I think by and large they did a pretty darn good job with that report. I mean, it's hard to expect anything to be perfect for an outside consultant to come in, and spend, granted, quite a few hours with staff. But I think overall we have a really good product that when you pair it with the staffing proposals from department heads, are two documents that we can use as a guide on what our staffing looks like over the next 3 to 5 years, and more than likely beyond that a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot of pieces here, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Again, another area, budget plays out on Fact TV. You'll have public hearings coming up as well that you'll be able to check out. And the study, if you're interested in learning more about that staff study, you can check out the personnel meeting, as Chad mentioned, from August 9th, 2023 here on Fact TV. All right, Chad, time's up. We covered a lot of areas here today. Appreciate the time. And next month, September,
fall will be upon us.
Sad. Good times in there in the fall, but
yeah,
bummer.
It's always disappointing for me to see summer go.
Yeah, you're going to be off now like the rest of the summer here? Just
No.
to check out? No. All right, Chad, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.